Good morning, all. This is Jack from Charting Markets, and this is the pre-market webinar for the morning of Wednesday, the 7th of May. My disclaimer, I did this for education purposes only. I'm here to share my technical analysis with you. I hope you can take some of what I'm doing, learn from it, transfer it to your own charts. I'm not here to issue trading signals. Right. Okay, ES. Well, there's we saw a bit more downside yesterday. We've seen a rally here, but I've drawn in what could be a potential issue today in terms of retesting the high, and that is the possible head and shoulder patterns, which are forming on ES, on NQ, on RTY, and this is the head and shoulder pattern on ES. This could take us back into this rising support trend line, and I'm watching yesterday's lows. We have a potential to go down and break this rising support trend line here. Would that mean that we couldn't retest high? No, but it's certainly something I'm watching, and the danger is that, of course, if we went down directly from here, then we would not come back. So I'm watching the weekly pivot as support here, and I'm doing the same on NQ, where we have a very similar nice quality head and shoulder pattern here. We've got on RTY a very nice quality head and shoulder pattern here too. All of these above the weekly pivot at the moment. I'd like to see that weekly pivot support hold, and we've actually got exactly the same on YM. We actually arguably already had one there, but if you notice, if I pull down the neckline here, then we've got a better quality head and shoulders forming now. So I'm not treating this. If the original head and shoulders was valid, then I'd be thinking we'd be rejecting back up to the high. But actually, there is a perfectly good and valid alternative right there. So I'm still treating this as a possible head and shoulders forming. DAX, we've got very nice looking rising wedge. We haven't retested the all-time high yet, and I'm still leaning towards that happening. 60-minute sell signal has reached the possible near miss target, and we've got exactly the same on ESTX, where we're starting to break the rising support here. That's not necessarily a huge issue, but I would say this is a setup which is more conducive to going down directly than it was yesterday morning. We will see. All right, let's have a look at the bigger picture charts. Okay, do we have a possible head and shoulders forming on SPX? Yes, we do. So watching that carefully, and that, as I said, could get us down and back into the rising support. No test of the 200 DMA yet, of course. So I've got that at 57.46. So we need to get up another 40 points or so from where we'd got to. In terms of Qs, we've got test of the 200 DMA, of course. In terms of a head and shoulders, what have we got there? Got one there too. They're not quite as nice as the ones on the futures charts, but nonetheless, they are valid. On Dia, we've got again a decent look setup at if we retest the highs here, we get very nice looking possible RSI 5 sell signals brewing. We've got that on Dia, we've got that on Qs, we've got that on SPX, and it's all looking good. Get a lot lower, get below specifically this 50 line on the RSI 5, then that ends, but we are nowhere near that at the moment. On Dia, do we have a possible head and shoulders here? We do. So watching that with great interest, and we will see how that goes. Looking at IWM, we've got on the daily chart. We've got a decent looking shot at a possible RSI 5 sell signal if we see a retest of the high again. Do we have a head and shoulders here? Potentially, yes, we do. So I am wondering whether we might see a direct breakdown today. I'd be a bit surprised to see that. I think there'll be more time to give the Fed, but if we just track sideways, then rather than seeing a move up in the early hours today, then we will, we'll see. But these could easily break down and do some significant technical damage and possibly take us below the 50 level on the daily RSI 5s, which would be a problem. Okay, DAX. We haven't seen a retracement which would give us a decent looking possible RSI 5 sell signal brewing here. We're very, very close to the retest of the all-time high. We haven't reached it yet. So I'm still leaning towards reaching that on Nikkei. Nikkei, we've seen a move up slightly, but we're still nowhere near the 200 DMA. I've got that at 38,000. I'm seeing that as the main resistance. All right, let's have a look at DX. Okay, DX, we've got Inverted head and shoulders, it's broken up and it looks like a bull flag forming. So I'm still liking the upside on this and potentially a move up into the inverted head and shoulder target in the 101.75 area, which is now increasingly a good match with this declining resistance. So we will see how that goes. We had a 6-minute sell signal that's reached the possible near miss target on ZB. ZB, I was talking about seeing a bit of a rally yesterday. We've seen a bit of a rally. We've got a weak 6-minute buy signal fixed here, but that hasn't made target yet. Just flipping over to the bigger picture chart for a moment. We did have an RSI 5 sell signal fixed on the hourly chart yesterday, and that's now made target. But we haven't quite made target on this buy signal here. So this is what I would describe as a very muted rally, which is suggesting that it may well just break down and head lower and head to this target down here at about the 113.20 area for this head and shoulders, and do that sooner rather than later. All right, looking at CL. CL, we've seen a decent looking rally here. We've got a weak 6-minute sell signal fixed, and we've got a potential inverted head and shoulders forming here, which I'll be watching. Wouldn't be surprised to see this go down, head straight down and retest this low here in the 54.5 area. Again, just hitting the bigger picture chart here. I've got this channel support, which I'm watching very carefully here at 56.06. Well, no, about 55.50 now. So I'm thinking we may well be heading down there. We haven't quite retested this low at 56.06. We got down to 56.46. And I'm kind of leaning towards seeing a full retest. All right, looking at natural gas, we've seen a bit of a retracement here. This looks like a bull flag. I drew in a bull flag, and we've broken up from that slightly. I'm expecting to see a retest of this high here, and then we will see whether this has actually got the juice to go higher. On GC, GC, we're consolidating a bit. Little possible head and shoulders forming here. No current negative divergence. We might see a bit of a retracement, maybe a back test of the weekly pivot here, but after that, I'm thinking that we're likely to go back and retest this high. Looking at silver, not looking, kind of looks like a Frankenstein mishmash of two possible head and shoulders forming here, but I think this is likely to resolve back up into a retest of this high here at 34, and then probably higher. 60-minute sell signal has fixed on palladium. We've got a possible 60-minute sell signal brewing. We've had some decent looking upside here actually, but we're still in potential double top territory here. So watching a reversal here carefully. On platinum, we're almost back up to the retest of this high, and that is the obvious next target. We've got a 60-minute sell signal fixed, and short term it looks like we're forming a bull flag. On HG, HG we've got a possible head and shoulders forming, and waiting to see whether this will actually break down. If it does, this could take us straight back to the retest of this lows in the 4.07 area. All right, not a lot to see on currencies today. On KC, this head and shoulders which broke down has failed, so I've taken off the down arrows, and I'm leaning towards a break up and a move back up to a retest of this high here in the 418, 419 area. Looking at sugar, still wary about the potentially cavernous downside here. We've got weak 60-minute buy signal has reached the possible near miss target on CC. Leaning towards seeing a rejection back up into a retest of this high here at 9,500, and then to see whether it's got the juice to head higher, which it might, but I'm keeping an open mind. We don't really have much indication on the bigger picture. Looking at ZW, we've got a possible bear flag forming here, and I'm leaning towards the downside here. I'm thinking we may well need a retest of 495. On corn, we're pretty close to a retest of this low here at 450, and I think it's likely heading there next. We had a little buy signal fuel rally here, but it looks like that's over. On soy, we have a potential head and shoulders forming here, and it's nice. It doesn't mean it's going to break down. Could just head back up and retest this high. But watching, basically, we would need to break and convert the monthly pivot at 103.25, and that would have a target at about the 1006 area, I think. Looking at CT, likely we've got a 60-minute sell signal fixed. We've gone higher since then, and I think the obvious next target is still a retest of this high here at about the 69.7 area, but we could see a bit of a retrace here. On lumber, still trickling downhill, got targets below in the 555 to 560 area, I think. On live cattle, we are continuing higher at the moment, and not seeing a great deal to suggest that changes. On lean hogs, we are still in the inflection point, deciding whether or not we're going to see a move down to this double top target down in the 95 to 95.5 area. Overall, this looks like a bull flag forming so far. So watching that with interest. Okay, great. In that case, I think that's a wrap. For today, mainly I'm watching these head and shoulder patterns. I'm still leaning towards seeing a retest of the high, but the head and shoulder patterns are suggesting that we might go down at least to a degree directly. We still have big support at the monthly pivot below that, but we could start breaking some support trend lines. We shall see. All right, that's a wrap. Everyone take care, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow.